I want to start with an honest confession that might surprise you. There have been moments when a simple hug felt more powerful, more intimate, and more emotionally stirring than a kiss. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was inappropriate, but because of how it felt in the body. Physical touch is not just physical, it is neurological, it is hormonal, it is emotional, and when it is done with presence and awareness, it can leave a lasting imprint. Today, we are not talking about manipulation. We are not talking about tricks or games. We are talking about understanding how the nervous system responds to touch, how pacing affects emotional safety, and how small differences in physical presence can completely change the way a moment is experienced. Most hugs are forgettable. They are quick, distracted, automatic. 2 arms around the shoulders, a quick pat on the back, and then it is over. Polite, friendly, safe, but neutral. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if your intention is connection, warmth, and emotional resonance, neutrality will not create depth. The first thing to understand is pacing. The human nervous system is extremely sensitive to speed. Fast movements often signal anxiety, urgency, or uncertainty. Slow movements signal steadiness, groundedness, and control. When someone rushes into a hug, the body often tightens before it softens, even if only slightly. But when someone approaches slowly, giving the other person time to register the movement, something different happens. The breath begins to match. The shoulders drop. The body leans in rather than braces. This is not about dominance, it is about regulation. When you move calmly and breathe slowly, you communicate safety through your body before you say a word. There is a powerful biological mechanism behind this. When someone feels safe and physically contained in a gentle, steady way, the body releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It lowers stress hormones like cortisol and increases feelings of trust and connection. But oxytocin is not triggered by speed. It is triggered by steady, warm, reassuring contact. So instead of lunging forward or pulling someone abruptly into your space, guide the moment. Let your hand rest gently first. Apply calm, even pressure. Allow the other person to step in rather than be grabbed. This small shift changes everything. Another key element is breath. Most people do not realize how influential breath is during physical closeness. When your breathing is fast and shallow, it can subtly increase tension in the other person. When your breathing is slow and deep, it invites their nervous system to mirror yours. This is called co-regulation. Our bodies are wired to sync with the emotional state of those around us. Slow your breath slightly during a hug, and you may notice the other person softens almost without realizing why. Now let's talk about placement. Where your hands rest during a hug communicates intention. A high shoulder-only hug tends to feel friendly and social. It is appropriate in many contexts. But if your intention is warmth and reassurance, placing one hand gently at the mid or lower back can feel more grounding. Why? Because the lower back is an area associated with support and stability. When someone places a steady hand there, it often feels protective, not possessive, not forceful, but supportive. The key is pressure and respect. The touch should never feel invasive or suggestive. It should feel firm enough to be present, but gentle enough to be safe. Think of it as offering steadiness rather than claiming space. Another detail most people overlook is timing. Many hugs end too quickly, not in a dramatic way, just in a habitual way. We hug, count 1 or 2 seconds unconsciously, and release. But emotional bonding often deepens with just a slightly longer hold. Research suggests that hugs lasting around 20 seconds can significantly increase oxytocin and decrease stress. Now, that does not mean every hug needs to be 20 seconds. Context matters, consent matters, comfort matters. But holding just one breath longer than usual can create a noticeable shift. The important distinction here is not clinging. It is not squeezing tighter. It is simply allowing the moment to fully register in both bodies before releasing. There is also something subtle that happens when the face and neck are close. The neck contains many nerve endings and is linked to the parasympathetic nervous system. Warmth near that area can create a gentle, calming response. This does not mean invading personal space. It means being aware that closeness naturally heightens sensation. If your cheek brushes lightly as part of a normal hug, or your warmth is felt briefly, the body often responds before the mind analyzes it. That response can be a soft shiver, a deeper breath, or a sudden awareness of connection. Silence is another underestimated factor. Many people rush to fill a hug with words, compliments, jokes, commentary. Sometimes words are beautiful, but sometimes silence allows the nervous system to process. When you hold someone quietly, breathing steadily, you create space for them to feel rather than think. And feeling is what creates memory. There is a difference between a mechanical hug and a mindful one. A mechanical hug checks a social box. A mindful hug creates a physiological and emotional experience. Small intentional movements can also change the tone of a moment. For example, when you release, allowing your hand to slide gently across the upper back or shoulder in a natural, unhurried way can create a sense of completion rather than abruptness. It signals that the connection did not snap, it tapered. Balance is essential. Too much pressure can feel overwhelming. Too little can feel distant. The most meaningful physical contact often blends steadiness with gentleness. One arm firm enough to communicate presence, the other hand soft enough to communicate care. This contrast is powerful because human beings crave both strength and tenderness. We want to feel supported, but we also want to feel understood. And finally, there is the art of release. Ending a hug matters just as much as beginning one. If you pull away abruptly or immediately distract yourself, the moment collapses. But if you release calmly and maintain eye contact for a brief, natural pause, it allows the emotional connection to settle rather than scatter. Eye contact after touch reinforces the bond. It tells the other person that the connection was intentional, not accidental. When you combine slow pacing, steady breath, mindful hand placement, subtle timing, balanced pressure, and grounded presence, something shifts. The hug becomes more than a gesture, it becomes an experience, and experiences are what people remember. In the next part, we will go deeper into the neuroscience of why certain touches linger in memory and how emotional safety actually increases attraction rather than reducing it. But for now, reflect on this. Physical connection is not about intensity, it is about awareness. Now that we've talked about pacing, breath, and presence, let's go deeper into what is actually happening inside the brain and body during meaningful physical contact. When two people embrace, especially with calm and steady intention, multiple systems activate at once. The skin sends signals through millions of sensory receptors. Those signals travel through the spinal cord and into the brain, particularly areas involved in emotion, memory, and attachment. One of the most important regions involved is the limbic system. This is the emotional center of the brain. It helps determine whether an experience feels safe, threatening, comforting, or exciting. When a hug is rushed or tense, the amygdala, which detects threat, may stay slightly alert. But when the hug is slow, grounded, and steady, the parasympathetic nervous system activates. Heart rate slows, muscles soften, the body moves out of vigilance and into connection. This shift is powerful. Emotional safety does not reduce attraction. In fact, for many women, it enhances it. When the nervous system feels secure, it becomes more open to desire. Stress and attraction do not coexist easily. Calm and attraction often do. There is also the role of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with anticipation and reward. Subtle tension during a hug can stimulate dopamine release. Not tension as in discomfort, but tension as in suspended expectation. For example, holding for one breath longer than expected creates a moment of uncertainty. The brain becomes alert in a positive way. It wonders what is happening. That curiosity lights up reward pathways. This is why timing matters so much. Ending a hug just before the other person is ready can create a mild sense of longing. The brain remembers incomplete experiences more vividly than completed ones. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as the Zeigarnik effect. When something feels slightly unfinished, the mind replays it. But this must always be respectful and attuned. If someone stiffens or pulls back, that is your cue to release. Connection cannot be built without consent and comfort. True presence means noticing micro signals, a deeper exhale, a soft lean inward, relaxed hands. These cues tell you the other person feels safe. Let's talk about subtle movement. During a hug, most people freeze their hands in place, but the body reads motion as intention. A slow, gentle movement of the hand across the upper back as you prepare to release can amplify sensation. The skin is sensitive to change. When a hand moves deliberately and slowly, the brain pays attention. This does not need to be dramatic. In fact, subtlety is what makes it powerful. A slow slide from mid-back to shoulder as you pull away can create what researchers sometimes call a sensory echo. Even after contact ends, the brain briefly continues to register the feeling. That lingering sensation can make the moment feel deeper than it objectively was. Another factor is warmth. Skin temperature influences comfort and emotional perception. When your body is relaxed and warm, and your touch is steady rather than jittery, it reinforces safety. Warmth plus calm pressure signals reliability. Silence also continues to play a role here. The brain tries to interpret meaning when there are fewer verbal cues. If you hold someone in quiet steadiness, their mind may naturally fill in the emotional narrative. Was that tenderness? Was that longing? Was that reassurance? The absence of immediate explanation can deepen emotional processing. But remember, silence should feel natural, not performative. If you are silent but internally anxious, the body communicates that tension. Authentic calm cannot be faked for long. This is why emotional regulation is foundational. The more grounded you are in yourself, the more grounded your touch will feel. Let's also explore eye contact after release. Eye contact activates neural circuits linked to bonding and vulnerability. When combined with prior touch, it amplifies emotional intensity. Holding eye contact for one heartbeat longer than usual can feel intimate without being overwhelming. Again, this is about subtle extension, not staring. A soft, steady look communicates confidence and presence. Looking away immediately can signal discomfort or disinterest. Staying just a moment longer can create resonance. There is a delicate balance between strength and gentleness that many people instinctively seek. A firm arm around the back communicates stability. A softer hand resting or moving lightly communicates care. When these two qualities blend, the body reads both protection and tenderness at the same time. This dual signal is deeply compelling. Humans are wired to seek partners who can provide safety and empathy simultaneously. When a hug conveys both, it can feel complete on multiple levels. It is also important to recognize context. Not every hug is meant to create romantic tension. Physical touch exists on a spectrum. The principles we are discussing are about mindful presence and emotional awareness. They can strengthen romantic bonds, deepen trust in long-term relationships, and even improve stress regulation between partners. In committed relationships, intentional hugs can reduce daily anxiety, improve mood, and reinforce attachment security. A slow embrace after a long day can reset both nervous systems. It can communicate without words, "You are safe here." And when emotional safety is consistent, desire has room to grow organically. Another subtle but meaningful element is posture. When you stand upright but relaxed, shoulders open rather than hunched, you signal confidence. If your posture collapses inward, it can communicate insecurity. Body language is processed rapidly and often unconsciously. Ground your feet, keep your movements smooth. Allow your arms to wrap with intention rather than hesitation. These micro adjustments change how the moment is experienced. Finally, let's address restraint. Restraint is often misunderstood. It is not suppression, it is choice. Choosing to release the hug while the energy still feels warm rather than waiting until it cools can preserve intensity. It leaves space for anticipation the next time. When connection feels slightly unfinished, the brain marks it as significant. Now let's bring everything together in a way that feels natural, respectful, and authentic. Because at the end of the day, this is not about techniques performed mechanically. It is about presence. It is about understanding how the human nervous system works and choosing to show up with awareness. The most powerful physical moments are rarely dramatic. They are subtle. They unfold slowly. They feel effortless, even though they are intentional. Imagine this flow in real life. You approach calmly. Your posture is upright but relaxed. Your breathing is steady. Before you even make contact, your energy communicates something important. You are grounded. You are not rushing, you are not grabbing, you are inviting. As you move in, your hands settle with clarity. Not stiff, not hesitant. One arm wraps securely enough to feel real. The other rests with softness. Your body is close enough to create warmth, but never forceful. You allow the other person to lean in, rather than pulling them abruptly. In that moment, your breath slows slightly. And without saying a word, you give their nervous system permission to soften. This is where many people make their first mistake. They overthink, they wonder, is this working? Am I doing it right? That mental noise translates into subtle muscle tension, and tension is felt. Instead, shift your focus outward. Notice their breath. Notice whether their shoulders relax. Notice whether they sink in or stay rigid. Connection is always a two-way experience. If they soften, you hold steady, just one breath longer than average, not to create pressure, but to allow the moment to register. The body needs a few seconds to fully process safety and warmth. When you rush away too soon, the experience never completes. If the timing feels right, your cheek may naturally brush theirs as part of the embrace. There is no need to exaggerate this. The power lies in how ordinary it feels. The neck and jawline are sensitive areas, rich with nerve endings. Even slight warmth in that space can create a ripple through the nervous system. But remember, this only feels good when trust is present. Without trust, closeness can trigger defense. That is why emotional safety always comes first. Now consider the release. Instead of snapping away or patting twice and stepping back, you taper. One hand may slide slowly across the upper back or shoulder as you separate. This creates continuity. It signals that the connection is closing gently, not abruptly. Then comes the pause. You look at them, not intensely, not dramatically, just present. One heartbeat longer than what is socially automatic. Eye contact after touch reinforces meaning. It tells the brain that moment mattered. And then you let them look away first, or you softly shift your gaze with calm confidence. Notice what you are not doing. You are not filling the silence with nervous chatter. You are not immediately checking your phone. You are not breaking posture as if the moment embarrassed you. When you hold your composure after connection, it communicates emotional maturity. There are also common mistakes to avoid. The first is overpressure. Squeezing too tightly can feel overwhelming or performative. The body reads force as insecurity, not strength. The second is rigidity. Arms locked in place, shoulders tight, breathing shallow. That creates emotional distance. The third is over-talking. Words can be beautiful, but too many words immediately after a charged moment dilute it. Let the body speak first. Language can come later. The fourth is lingering beyond comfort. If you feel hesitation in their body, release sooner. True confidence includes sensitivity. The goal is mutual experience, not control. And perhaps the most important principle of all is authenticity. These ideas only work when they are an extension of who you are, not a mask you wear. If you are disconnected from your own emotions, your touch will feel empty. If you are grounded, your touch will feel grounded. Emotional regulation is attractive because it signals safety. When someone feels safe, their brain becomes open to desire, curiosity, and bonding. When someone feels unsafe, their brain shifts into protection mode. So if you want your physical presence to leave a lasting impression, work on your inner state first. Slow your breathing. Strengthen your posture. Practice calmness in everyday life. The body cannot fake steadiness for long. Over time, what once felt intentional becomes natural. And here is something deeply reassuring. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to execute every detail flawlessly. Human connection thrives on sincerity, not performance. Even a small improvement in awareness can transform the quality of your interactions. When you approach with patience instead of urgency, when your hands communicate steadiness instead of uncertainty, when your timing creates warmth instead of abruptness, and when your release leaves a gentle trace instead of emptiness, you create experiences that linger. Not because you manipulated the moment, but because you honored it. Physical touch is powerful. It can calm stress hormones. It can increase bonding chemicals. It can strengthen relationships. It can create attraction. But most of all, it can communicate what words sometimes cannot. You are safe with me. I am present. This moment matters. When those messages are felt rather than spoken, they resonate far longer than any scripted line ever could. So the next time you embrace someone you care about, Slow down. Breathe. Be there. Let the hug become an experience instead of a reflex. And remember, connection is not about intensity. It is about awareness, respect, and emotional steadiness. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep showing up with presence.